How's it going, guys? Let's talk about this rematch that just took place between Anthony Mundine and Danny Green. Now, this was a fight that was long overdue. These guys fought back in 2006, over a decade ago, and there had been rumours and speculation about a rematch ever since then, because the first fight was, it was a big rivalry. It had a lot of attention over in Australia. There was a lot of a lot of animosity between the two and between their sets of fans. It seemed natural that there would be a rematch. However, I don't think anybody anticipated that it would be 10 or 11 years down the line. So let's talk about how this fight went. Before I watched the fight, because I didn't watch it live, I watched it on YouTube afterwards. Prior to the fight, I saw a lot of news articles popping up and a lot of comments here and there claiming that the fight was controversial and that it was a controversial decision. Now, I knew the result going into the fight, majority decision for Green, and I was picking Green to win the fight beforehand. I just felt that, at this stage, his strength and his durability would see him to a victory because, even though Anthony Mundine schooled Danny Green in the first fight, Mundine has regressed significantly since then. That fight was at 168 and it was over a decade ago. And since then, Anthony Mundine has been moving down divisions. He competed at middleweight, then he competed at 154 for a few years. And let's be honest, fluctuating in weight like that has to be, it has to take its toll on your body. I mean, when you spent your prime years fighting at 168 and now in your mid 40s you're trying to compete at 154. Anthony Mundine, he must be killing himself, absolutely killing himself to make weight, and that's never good for a fighter's body, and for a fighter in their 40s, he doesn't really have any durability at all at world level. I mean, we saw what fighters like Joshua Clottey were able to do with him, so I wasn't really expecting much from Mundine in this fight, but it was very competitive. Now, it has to be said that the fight was controversial from the first round on. I mean, Danny Green was getting the better of Mundine. He was coming forward. He was manhandling Mundine a little bit. He was pushing him back, trying to go to the body, and then the two guys ended up in a clinch. And what happened was the referee told them to break, and then Danny Green turned his back as he was meant to, I suppose. I know they say defend yourself at all times, but the referee did call break. It was clear that the two guys were, the fight wasn't, it wasn't ongoing. Okay, if the referee tells you to break, you're supposed to break. Okay, you're not supposed to cheap shot, and that's what Anthony Mundine did. He snuck in a left hook when Danny Green wasn't looking, and when the referee had told them to break, and it almost knocked Danny Green out. He was hurt badly from that shot, and I think it was a good shot, but the reason why it hurt so much is because it was an unsuspecting shot. Danny Green, he didn't see it coming, wasn't tensed up for it, and his legs just completely turned to jelly, and the referee was holding him up, and the referee told Mundine, get back in your corner, and I think the commentators and a lot of the crowd were panicking at that point because they were like, shit, is this fight going to be over now, and is it going to be a no contest or a disqualification? And that would have been a very disappointing result, but thankfully Danny Green recovered. The referee took a point away from Mundine, and they continued the action, and Green, for the rest of the round, he looked very vulnerable. However, he came out in the second round, and the second round was actually a good round for Danny Green. He actually recovered well in that round, and he won that round clearly, in my opinion. This is when it started to get a little bit more controversial, because from then on, it was a very scrappy and clumsy fight, because both guys were tired. I mean, this is two guys in their 40s, two guys that should probably have been retired years ago, and clearly both of these guys are shop worn, and Danny Green, he's always been known for his durability and his toughness, but in this fight, he just didn't seem to have that same punch resistance that he's had in the past. He was being hurt from shots that didn't really look like hurtful shots. I mean, Anthony Mundine has never really been known as a top level puncher, so you would expect a guy who's naturally bigger than him to be able to take his shots, but Danny Green, like I said, he just doesn't have the punch resistance he used to have. He's a shot-worn fighter, and exactly the same for Mundine. Anthony Mundine, he didn't really have the strength to keep Danny Green off him. Now it was clear to me that Mundine had the better skills. You know, he's definitely the better skilled boxer. He's got better defense. He's faster hands. He can move better. You know, he's good at leaning on the ropes and you know luring his opponents into a false sense of accomplishment by making them think that they've got him trapped, and then he surprises them with counters and stuff like that. He's quite cute in there, Mundine. He's quite a crafty, tricky guy to deal with in the ring. But for me, going down the stretch, the fight was very close, and I don't see why everybody's calling this fight a robbery, because to me it wasn't a robbery. I mean, I thought that a lot of Danny Green's work in there was much cleaner and much more effective. Green actually had a very effective jab that the commentators didn't really seem to be picking up on, particularly in the middle rounds. His jab started to really affect Mundine, and I thought a lot of the time, just like in the Daniel Gill rematch, Green a lot of the time seemed to shut down his Mundine seemed to shut down his offense a bit and really didn't let his hands go when he needed to. And I felt he actually gave away a few of the rounds because, you know, in the first fight, like I said, Mundine was so much more athletic, so much quicker in the first fight because he was so much younger. But in this fight, it seemed as if he had the ability to outbox Green, but he just didn't have the stamina and he just couldn't pull the trigger anymore. So, and also a severe lack of reflexes I noticed from Mundine because, you know, he used to be one of these fighters who would make you miss and counter, but nowadays he really doesn't have the reflexes to do that at world level. So, yeah, you know, whatever you feel about this fight, whatever you feel about the decision, I don't think there's any need for a third fight because again, it'll just be two old men, two shop-worn fighters getting in there with each other. I think both guys should probably retire at this stage. Um, Anthony Mundine, you know, he seems like one of these fighters that will never retire. You know, he's like Roy Jones. He gets knocked out, he gets beat, he just comes right back and you know, gets himself back in the mix. He's that kind of fighter. And Danny Green at this stage, I mean, this cruiserweight division, which is the division that Danny Green was probably most effective at, the cruiserweight division is stacked right now. I mean, can you really imagine Danny Green being a match for someone like Lebedev or Gassiev or Usyk or Bellew, any of those guys? I mean, come on, he gets smashed by any of those guys. You know, he's an old man. I mean, he's what, 43 years old now. He was knocked out by the former champion Krzysztof Wlodarczyk. He was even stopped by Antonio Tarver, who's an old man himself. So, yeah, you know, I really don't think that Danny Green, despite this victory, I don't think he's really an interesting addition to the cruiserweight division at this stage. I would advise him to retire because, you know, like I said, he wouldn't have a chance against those guys. As far as Mundine goes, I mean, what is he going to do? Is he going to go back to 154? Can he even make 154 now? I mean, surely it's gonna kill him if he goes back down. So, yeah, I don't know where these guys go from here. I'm sure I'm gonna get a lot of dislikes here because a lot of people, for whatever reason, seem to think that this fight was a complete and utter robbery. I know that Anthony Mundine does have his fair share of supporters, but he also has a lot of haters too. And you know, surprisingly, I've seen a lot of comments saying that, "Oh, I hate Mundine, but he won this fight." And I don't know. To me, look, I'll need to watch the fight a second time. But you know, watching it the first time, I don't see this fight as a robbery. I thought that a majority decision for either guy. You know, honestly, I scored it. I scored it for for Green personally. You know, it was just that kind of fight. I like the come forward aggression and you know, the heavier punches for me. He was so much more effective, and I thought a lot of the time he did a good job at getting inside and really smothering Mundine's work. And again, Mundine just didn't really have the reflexes to deal with it and didn't have the strength to deal with it anymore. Now, obviously, Mundine can at least he can say, you know what, when we fought when we were in our primes, I won. You know, so he can walk away with his head held high, and you know, he can say that. But Danny Green, at least he was able to even up the score. So both guys could retire on this. Okay, both guys have had fantastic careers, and I really don't see why these guys in their mid-40s continue to fight. Again, it's just like Roy Jones. It makes no sense to me. I mean, there's nobody is going to convince me that these guys still need money. Okay, Anthony Mundine made a lot of money for his pro debut. I'm sure that guy is a fucking superstar in Australia. And you know, same with Danny Green. He's a big star over there. So yeah, it was a good fight. It was an okay fight. It was a little bit scrappy. You know, Mundine was you know, a little bit dirty in there, a few elbows too, and that cheap shot in the first round was a little bit shameful for a fighter of his caliber. But oh well, I got nothing against these guys. Good fight. Don't really want to see a third fight. Let me know what you guys think. Thanks for watching.